rather than a traditional hotel.
When I booked this trip, my friend said I was crazy. Why would I stay in someone else's house?
It's a question 3 then students who rented out space on their floor to pay their rent are pretty glad they answered. Now valued at a cool $30 billion, with London its second biggest success story, under Paris. Peter and Bullen are clear why they go for tourists rather than a long-term tenant.
When you're taking on short-term tenants, you're probably getting something like double the rental that you would have done from a long-term guest.
You return about 30% more as you would if you had let it long.
And Peter's guests have arrived now to use the flat overnight.
Hannah, Peter, welcome. Come along in. So here we are in the clock tower.
I often do feel like I get more for my money because with a hotel you're just paying for one room, but when you rent an apartment or a home you have the use of the kitchen, you have a living room area.
It's clear Airbnb has had a seismic effect and brought huge benefits to many people. But some fear it may be putting pressure on London's long-term rental housing market and possibly contributing to the housing crisis. Soaring rents, more chasing fewer affordable properties. Could short-term letting sites like Airbnb be reducing the already stretched rental market? Daniel seems to think so. He's been trying to rent a property for more than a year near Ladbroke Grove to be near his work.
All the property's been overpriced, couldn't really afford it. So at the moment I'm currently living with my mum and dad in Slough.
Many feel the flood of short-term lets has removed thousands of homes off the long-term rental market and pushed up prices for those like Daniel. To get more of a picture, we asked Airbnb for a precise breakdown of where and how many London homes are being advertised. They refused, so we had to go elsewhere. This independent website mines the Airbnb site for data to allow you to see where homes are being advertised. In red for whole homes, green for rooms.
Hi Mary, how are you doing? You all right?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Airbnb says the data compiled by New York housing activist Murray Cox is inaccurate. But Murray's been contacted by a number of London councils concerned about the spread of Airbnb.
I know London has affordability issues, and so if people are finding that they can make more money by renting a home on Airbnb instead of to a renter, then that's problematic for our cities. We don't want our cities just become playgrounds for tourists.
New figures obtained by Inside Out from Murray's website show the scale and spread of Airbnb. There are many rooms rented out, but what you're seeing here is a snapshot of whole homes up for rent on one day alone in January. Smaller numbers in places like Havering, Harrow and other outer suburbs. Moving closer in via Brent, Lewisham and Ealing to nearly 6,000. And thousands in areas closer to London's tourist attractions, like Hackney, Camden and Westminster. Across the capital, more than 27,000 whole homes on just one day alone. It's a small percentage overall, but it affects some areas disproportionately, like Kensington and Chelsea, where Daniel's on the verge of giving up.
I'm pretty outraged about it because all our sort of young people out here looking for properties for the first time, they're all just going to the tourist and we have nowhere to sort of live.
But Airbnb reject the view that they have a role in the housing crisis.
There's countless studies around as to what the challenges is in London in terms of housing. Population rising, there's been I think more than 1 million people added in London in the last 10 years and there's only been 20,000 built. So we believe that we're a negligible part and we're looking to work on the controls of home sharing to mean that it continues to be an entirely negligible part.
In May 2015, Airbnb celebrated a change in the law with this advert.
If you've seen a house floating down the Thames and you're wondering why, it's from Airbnb. We're celebrating home sharing and a recent change in legislation which means that Londoners are free to share their homes for up to 90 days.
Till then, it was illegal to short let in London without planning permission. But the government changed the law to allow Londoners to do so, but only up to a maximum of 90 days. It allowed Airbnb to rapidly expand. But the 90-day rule was ignored by many landlords, with some blocks in London turning into virtual hotels.
What we wanted was for Airbnb to be proactive and to make this enforcement and to make sure that people weren't flouting the law.
Airbnb came under huge political pressure to act, and fast. So London Mayor Sadiq Khan stepped in to wave the stick of possible legislation. And then Airbnb made a dramatic announcement. From this spring, home lets that total more than 90 days in a year will be banned. Any landlord that tries will be blocked from doing so on the site. So, end of problem. Well, not quite. Some hosts think it's all unfair.
Why have a regulation there in the first place? Why even is there a rule like that? It's wrong.
Bullant has 4 homes he's been marketing commercially on Airbnb and says landlords will just move to competing sites.
And Airbnb is not the only show in town. There are many other options, many other ways of marketing a property as well.
We asked competitors of Airbnb, like HomeAway, TripAdvisor, Expedia, if they and others would follow Airbnb in cracking down on those ignoring London's 90-day rule. The answer seems to be no. It's still entirely down to the landlord. And even on Airbnb, landlords are now threatening to break the rules. One Airbnb host, who didn't want to be identified, with 3 homes on the site, explained how.
It's pretty easy. We'll just go on as before. When the 90-day rule comes up, I'll re-register the homes I have now, so it looks like they're different homes in a slightly different location, a few meters away. Airbnb will never know. I know of many other landlords planning to do the same thing.
Airbnb says it will crack down on any landlords it discovers are breaking the rules, and says those rules will have an impact. Other world cities have cracked down harder. In New York, it's illegal to even advertise lets of fewer than 30 days. And in Berlin, you can't rent out more than half your home for a short period without a permit. It's still too early to see what impact the new rules will have in London, but the pressure is mounting to do more in a city grappling with an acute housing shortage.